welcome back to the Mom and a Manse podcast. It has been quite some time, and I will go over all of the reasons why in the life segment at the end of the video, so that anyone who's here for like yarn and projects and stuff doesn't have to sit through that at the beginning. Also, I'm not sure how long that will take. But I'm very happy to finally be sitting back down and doing a podcast with you. And because it's been so long, I'm going to skip all of the acquisitions, so it's only going to be projects that I have completed or that I'm currently working on. There's several pairs of socks and things like that that I started throughout this year and have not gone back to or finished, so I won't go over those, but just there were a lot of projects at the end back in March when I podcasted last that I have finished since then, and so I wanted to share those with you, and then the few that I've done since then. So let's jump right in. We have a decent amount of stuff to go over. So on the last one, I did show you my puntilla sweater, and I believe that I was done with the body but had not done the sleeves or the collar or the edgings. And this is a pattern by Joji Locatelli that I did in Manse del Uruguay, and it has this lace detail down at the bottom of the sleeves and on the bottom of the sweater, and it is just a simple little lace. You can actually see more of it there. I really like this sweater. It's super comfortable. I did not make it super long because a lot of my sweaters, I felt like they were coming out a little bit longer than I actually wanted them to, even though I am really tall. And so I didn't add much length in this because it's kind of a long sweater anyways. But as it turns out, because of the silk in the Manse, it doesn't seem to kind of like grow down. It kind of stretches sideways, but not like lengthening. And so it's not the best length. It could probably use another inch. If I am at the school jumping around and stuff, sometimes it will fly up and kids will say that they can see my belly. So I have to remember not to do that when I'm wearing that sweater. I'm very happy to have that done, and it was part of my make 9, so that, or no, I think finish 9. So that is one off the list. There's very few of them off the list. The Hygge Days, I did finish that as well. It was in Drops Air in a navy color. This is a very comfortable sweater. It's kind of like a sweatshirt. It is a nice big neck, which I usually want. This one is a little bit too big, so I mean, you can see how big this neck turned out. So I am thinking about taking the neck out and doing it with a smaller needle. But it does have this pretty detail on the back, which you can't see great because of the color of it. But it just adds a little something. It's extremely soft. It's probably the cheapest sweater that I've ever made. And I have been getting some use out of it now that it is cold again. What else did I have? I had talked about these socks, and I apologize, they're a little bit stretched out because I did wear them, that were from the Dyeing Arts, I believe the yarn was, and they had kind of, the inside of the skein was not the same as the other one. The cuffs did end up pretty similar. So, I mean, the part, if I'm wearing boots and they're sticking out, they are okay. But you can see this one, I mean, it still has a more vivid area right there than this one has anywhere. I did wear these for my knitting class this summer with shorts and Birkenstocks, and they did not stay up very well. I don't know how much of that, I don't know if I increased too much and so that they didn't really have that grip, or if it's that this yarn kind of seems to stretch out and stay that way. I have worn them once, and you can, since washing once, you can see that the cuff is kind of, it's pretty relaxed. So it's definitely a yarn I'm not going to buy again. I do like the socks. I enjoy a good rainbow, especially a neon rainbow, but yeah. And I think I also talked about my Speckle Tonic, which I finished in time for the Mid-Plains Fiber Fair in York, Nebraska, where I was the booth babe for Lofty Loops. And it is in her Lotus and Abyss colorways. This is a pattern by Marianne Mace, and you might remember me talking about this pattern saying that you only needed 2 skeins total, but when in fact you actually needed 3 skeins because the skein she was using was like 800 yards or something. So we changed up the colors completely from what we had originally planned, but I'm very happy with it now. And it's a very cute, light shawl to have around. I think that's all that I had gone over the last time, other than the things I'm saving for later. Okay, so I am getting prepared for Advent, so I was trying to get this block off of my needles. I did start this summer and did a couple of the squares at the pool because it was nice and light to take along. Not a lot of stuff sitting in your lap. So I went ahead and finished this because I am planning on doing an Advent pinwheel scrap blanket again this year. So I needed it off my needles. So I have completed a block. So also completed, out of the yarn that was in the puntilla for the trimming, I did the Waiting for Rain. And this was my birthday cast on this year. I finished it in about a week. It has these lace inserts with the lighter gray, and then you have the darker all around it with short rows, obviously. And I really do like this one. However, I did kind of forget I had it and haven't really worn it since it got blocked. It is extremely, extremely soft. The silk in this one really works out for the best. I also finished my Bindi Arrow. However, it has not been blocked, so it is rather small. I don't know how much bigger it will get when it's blocked, but it is teeny tiny now. It's like a scarf. So this was out of Hedgehog in Graphite and Zephyr, and the pattern is by Charlotte Borhe. And I forgot, the Waiting for Rain is Sylvia McFadden. I also did the Jenga top. I have to grab my notes because I can't remember who the... Yoko Johnston is the designer for this, and it's a summer top. It's made out of some stretchy cotton, and it has these lace details. You can do it as a long sleeve, a cap sleeve, or a tank top. And again, this is blue. It also has the lace down at the bottom. I didn't finish that until summer kind of went away, so I have not worn that one very much. And I am going to BKL in New York City in January. I'm extremely excited. So I've been throwing a few projects onto my needles to get prepared for that. So the first thing that I finished with that was the Marvelous, which is by Leslie Ann Robinson, which I believe is Knit Graffiti. And here it is. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever made. I love this teal with the silver. The silver is also sparkly. I did run out of yarn, and so I ended up using the the other teal to finish it. But I don't really even think you can tell unless you're looking at it this close. So this was kind of the color that I was finishing with, and I ran out of it, and you can see at the very end that there are some all blue spots from the yarn from up here. But I don't think you can tell. I also really, really love the back. So this is going to be something to really keep me warm and beautiful in New York. I'm very excited about it. And I have not used it either because I didn't want to mess it up. The last thing that I completed was my gin, which I do not believe that I had started at all before I stopped podcasting. It's in the Mad Tosh brand, Fights a Bear, with the bronze stellina. So this sweater is the most beautiful color, and it is raining outside, so I doubt that you can see all of the gorgeousness. There's blue speckles in there that I feel like are not showing up at all. There's tons of pink ones, purple, green. I mean, it's just gorgeous, and it's sparkly. I did not check my gauge, and so there are a few issues with the sweater. I love it because it's so beautiful, but it is too flouncy. And so I checked my gauge this morning really carefully, and it was blocked by my husband, and then I've worn it several times. So the part up here where I was actually like knitting flat is on gauge. It is perfect up here. But then down at the bottom, I have too few stitches and 5 too few rows, which the rows don't matter at that point anyways because you're going to the length. But this is Gin by Josie Paquin, and I did the long version without the stripes with the 3/4 sleeves. The sleeves are done in reverse stockinette, and I really love them. It shows off the yarn in a completely different way, and the texture contrast is really nice. So when I wear this, the shoulders tend to kind of spread out and show my bra straps, and no matter what kind of tank I wear under it, it seems to kind of go too far, and it doesn't feel like it fits. So I think that even with that difference, that this is a pattern that if you decide to make it, that you should measure above the breast if you have anything probably above a B cup, just because I think it's kind of supposed to be flouncy a little bit and it's too big. So I am going to actually wash this again and re-block it just in case there was some stretching that happened. Since I'm not the one that blocked it, I'm not positive that there wasn't. And then I'm going to see what my gauge is. And if it's still off like this, I will probably rip it out to the armpits and then knit it back down with a smaller needle. It does have a high-low hem and a split hem. I'll probably knit it back down and then also take out the neck and redo this with a smaller, I mean, you can kind of see it's kind of like baggy looking. And if the gauge is okay after reblocking it on the bottom, then I will probably just do the neck because I think it's just too big. Even if it wasn't stretched, I think that it needs to be taken in some. It's just too loose. And this yarn is too gorgeous not to use properly and want to wear it all the time. So that was a lot of stuff that I am very happy with and that need a few alterations here and there as well, but that happens. The other finished object that I do have is my Scrappy V. This is a pattern by Jamie Hoffman, and I'm wearing it. So I'm going to sit back really quick so you can see it better. The Scrappy V is just a v-neck that you're using scraps for. So most of the different sections are done in 2 to 10 rows, and they were all using scraps. I decided to do them in a rainbow so you can kind of see how it is progressing down. You do short rows up top to kind of get it to come out even, and then you just go down. There were some people that said that the sleeves were too small. That is absolutely not the case for me. Mine are actually too big. I was going to mention that too. This is another one that I feel like I need to reblock because I kind of have bumpies. And I was still doing increases there, I believe, so that may be from increases, but it's something I want to try to fix with blocking because I definitely don't need quite as much room as is right there in those shoulders. But I'm very happy with this. It's a very happy shirt. I've worn it several times to school. I get lots of compliments on my rainbow shirt, so I really like that one. And that is, well, the last finished objects that I have. One of them I had shown you last time. This is my Bff Beanie Hat that I was designing. I had finished that one, and then I was working on the new one, which I made longer so it would be slouchy. And these are both out of Lofty Loops yarns. I apologize for my voice. I have not done this and it's very out of practice. So I ended up publishing this pattern back in April in time for the Mid-Plains Fiber Fair where I was being her booth babe. And you can find it on Ravelry. I will put a link down below. It is a very beginner-friendly pattern. I don't look good in hats, so excuse the weirdness, but it's a very slouchy hat. You could even wear it all the way back like a total hipster. And I did not actually block these out because I felt that they were big enough. But if you wanted it to really like slouch down, you could totally get it too. I will put the link below if you're interested in them. But it is something that's pretty much accessible to anybody who knows how to knit and purl. Really, there's tutorials about how to do the decrease at the top. And it's a little bit fiddly, but not a lot. I think that it's completely worth how it ends up looking. And I'm pretty proud of that and my first pattern. Last time I also showed you the yarn that I was working on. It was my second spin project. And I did finish that. I have not done anything with it. I did it as a gradient. It's the English Rose colorway from Needle Shuttle. Oh my gosh, I can't even. Shuttle and Needle in Stromsburg, Nebraska. And it came out quite a bit better than the last skein that I had done. But it's not perfect. And I don't really know what to use it for just because it does kind of vary in size. But I felt very accomplished that this came out halfway decent. But I felt even more excited about this spin that came out. So I had gotten from Paradise Fibers a set of 8 colors in a rainbow gradient that I spun. And I spun it from, I purposely made it spin so that colors that were next to each other on the wheel ended up together. So there is some overlap, and I wanted that. I really do like the barber pole effect. So I have started working on this shawl, which is called the Riscadino by Sylvia Silva. And it is a very, very simplistic shawl. and I wanted to just be able to use up every bit of the yarn. And you can see it just kind of transitions, and I am firmly into my blue. The rest of the gradient is this, and I am so happy with this. It came out gorgeous. It is pretty uniform. I think that for the most part it came out fingering weight-ish, which is exactly what I was going for. There are some places where it may be getting down to lace weight. I don't know how well you can see that. And there are probably a few places where it bumps up to sport, if not DK, but it's not, most of it is not varying like that. Most of it does kind of stay in that fingering weight range, and I am extremely pleased with the beauty of the color and how uniform it is. It's working up great into this shawl. You may have noticed all the jewelry hanging from this. My son Isaac, who is 4, wanted me to put all of the progress markers on it, so I have lots of jinglies. That is what I have been working on the most lately. Uh-oh. Don't do that to me. It's the first time that I've actually used my hand spun in anything, so I was very thrilled with this. I did make this yarn. I spun it on my Electric Eel Nano, and it is like a little over $100 and a tiny little thing. I meant to get out, but I did not. And it takes some getting used to, but it is absolutely worth the money. And I spun all of the singles on it. And then I, for my birthday, I got a Kromsky Sonata wheel, and I applied all of it on that, just because the bobbins are bigger. So, then there is a sweater here that I'm working on that's also something I wanted for New York. And it is by Burrico. It's called Lattice and Braid. So this, I'm actually, if I can find my needles, I'm actually at the very bottom in the ribbing for getting close to binding off. This is in the Lofty Loops Pure Base Mother of Dragons. And you can see up here at top it's been blocked, so that's why there's a big difference between that and the bottom. But it is just a plain sweater, and then from the collar down the sleeve it has either lattice or a braid running all the way down. So I went with the braid. I guess maybe it looks more like a braid that way. Well, I guess it looks the same. No, it doesn't. Anyways, so this will be a very like comfortable sweater that just has that little pop of detail that honestly I really kind of like, having something that's pretty plain with a little something extra. So hopefully I will make some progress on those sleeves soon. You can see on this, it's a light gray with just tons of gorgeous like green sparkles. Some of them break, so you get little pops of brown and yellow as well. And there's some blue in there. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I also was using from my Paradise Fiber Club their Mother of Dragon stitch marker from the Game of Thrones box that came a few months ago. I'm very excited about that one. The Pure is so squishy and so bouncy that it is just lovely to work with. And that pretty much brings us up to date with each other. But I was going to go ahead and talk about my Advent plans. I am going to try to do Vlogmas. We had so much fun as a family doing that last year that I want to try to do it this year. It seems a little bit weird to just like jump back into it after being gone for 8 or 9 months. But I think it's kind of the kick in the pants that will really get me going. But as far as my Advent projects, I have a few. I do have 3 Advent calendars this year, 2 that are yarn and 1 that is fiber. So I have plans for each of those. The fiber I'll be spinning up every day, and I am uncertain whether I'm going to do that as a fingering weight or a DK weight. And you'll find out in just a minute why. I will be doing the nor'easterly with DK. So I will be holding fingering weight double, or if I have DK scraps, but I have not started that blanket, so it will start out being completely Advent. Then I will be doing my spin wheel scrap blanket out of both of the yarn ones, which are from Lofty Loops and Log House Cottage. And then the remaining parts of it will go into the nor'easterly. So that's why the fiber, I'm undecided whether I should do it as a fingering weight, which is what I knit the most things with, or if I should go ahead and do it as DK weight and put it into that nor'easterly blanket once it gets a little bit further along. My other project is I am going to do a pair of socks, and this is in Lazy Bee Under the Mistletoe and Christmas Lights stripe. So it's just a Christmas stripey. And I did steal my Lofty Loops October Mystery colorway mini to do heels, toes, and cuffs for it. So I went ahead and got those going. And I have my little, this was out of my Lofty Loops Advent calendar last year. It's on there, ready to go. I have 64 stitches on here. And the pattern that I'm going to do is Geeks Socks, and that one is by Wei Leong. And a lot of people said that they did theirs bigger because the slip stitches pulled it in. So I have 64. 64 has been kind of big on me recently. So I'm going to try it out and see how the first day goes after slipping some. But I'm just going to knit on this as a project during Advent, carry it around with me and stuff, so that hopefully I will end up with another pair of Christmas socks. And those are my plans. So as long as everything goes fine, I should see you again on Sunday after such a long absence. And I'm going to get myself something to drink and then jump into the life stuff so that we can be completely caught up on life as well as knitting. Okay, so about a week after I podcasted the last time, well, it wasn't even a week, it was a few days, that the bomb cyclone went off in the Midwest, in Colorado and everywhere. And later that week, our levees were breached and our town was underwater. We were evacuated for about 8 days. Ended up getting about 2.5 feet of sewage in our basement. The flood water didn't come in, but it took out the sewage system in town, and so that backed up into everybody's houses that had drains in their basement. So we have 3. And our sump pump is on the opposite corner of our house, and it couldn't get it out, and it ended up frying, and so it was a complete mess. We were out for about 8 days and came back just in time to get our furnace back because it took that out. We lost a lot of stuff in the basement. In fact, getting ready to put up our Christmas tree, we're going to find out just how much of the Christmas stuff went missing. we all got sick after that, so that pretty much takes us through Easter. It was about 30 degrees outside when we were trying to clean some of the stuff up out of the sewage the first day that we were able to get back to town. So it was it was a huge process. It was very traumatic. There were a lot of issues surrounding that, yeah. So Easter happened and school ended, and let's see, right after school ended, it was time to get going on the youth trip that I was in charge of for this summer, and that was most of the summer that I planned that. We ended up taking 40 people to Purdue in Indiana, and that went really great. It was fantastic. It was a lot of work. And then we came back, and the next day we went on our family trip to Synod School, which is in Storm Lake, Iowa, where I taught middle school knitting again. And again, it was fantastic. Then a little bit after we got back from that, it was time to start school. I also went back to school. So that is happening. I'm still getting used to it. I'm getting into the part of the semester where everything that's big is due, and I'm looking forward to the break. But I am going for nonprofit administration, so that's going well, and I should graduate for the first time ever in December of next year. So I just have pretty much the program classes left because I've taken a lot of gen eds. I had like 2 that I had to do here. So I'm doing that through the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and it's all online, and I'm really loving it. It's very interesting, and it's very, very much what I want to do. I don't even remember what else has happened since August. I honestly don't remember. So we just had Thanksgiving yesterday, and now we're getting ready for Christmas, and that's the majority of this year. 9 months in 3 minutes is a lot to go through, but I don't necessarily want to talk a lot about the flood. It was pretty bad, and pretty much the year since then has been recovering from that. They didn't fix our levees, so they're about 6 inches thick, and we've already had 3 snowstorms, and about a week where we had below 0 wind chills, which is not normal. It's something that doesn't usually happen until January, or sometimes like after Christmas, before January. So I'm not very hopeful that next year is going to be great, or that it's going to not happen again, but we will see. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on with me. I have not even really had much of a chance to be watching podcasts. I have been subbing quite a bit now that I have my teaching certificate, and that cut between that and going to school myself has cut into a lot of knitting time, a lot of podcast time. I think I'm finally caught back up on Allison's, but that is about it. So I'm looking forward to getting into Vlogmas and really finding the time to slow down, enjoy the season, focus on what is good in the family, and happiness and joy and love and peace and whatever the other week of Advent is. Joy, love, peace, hope. Joy, love, peace, hope. Yes, that's 4. My pastor husband is glaring at me because I forgot what the other week was, but whatever. So anyways, I will see you in a couple of days. It is our very middle child's birthday on the first day of Advent. We all have Advent calendars this year, so the kids are super excited. I felt a little bit guilty over having 3 and they didn't have any. So I'm excited to kind of share that with them this year, and I am also very excited to have so many projects that I'm going to be working on, and also having the spinning, because I wasn't spinning last year and I really, really love that. And especially now that I can do it in a way that I can use the yarn, I'm very much looking forward to opening my spinning calendar and working with that every day and finding a way to always be doing that, as well as the yarn. I'm very excited to have my blankies. It's getting cold and I really want to have them, so I think it's going to be great. I will see you in Vlogmas. Let me know if you are doing Vlogmas so I can follow along, and I will see you later. Bye.